What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
And I'm Jason Edgeworth.
You are listening to Liquid Carnage, the full last name this week, buddy.
You get everything.
I feel like you're mixing it up. We've gone from an aggressive introduction with you to now like a full name. Like I'd say things are getting pretty serious with, here on Liquid Carnage after 4 years.
I know. Well, I want to try to be the expert that you are. You have the velvety voice, and I'm the annoying one, so I have to kind of step my game up a little bit.
I don't think that's the case at all. I think you know more about life than I do at this point, my friend.
Oh, gosh, man. Well, let's say both of us seem to have good things going in our lives, so God bless that, right?
That is very true.
That's right.
The ebbs and flows of life is currently flowing, so it's very nice.
Oh, my gosh. You must be so excited that sports are back on TV now.
Dude, it has been I'm overloaded. So we're recording right now as the Suns are playing in the bubble, and I know our timing's a little bit off. And so last week when I was watching the Suns and Clippers game, and time to watch Devin Booker hit a game-winning shot against the Clippers, and I lost my shit, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's been so long since I've watched exciting basketball. It was after work because they're playing at like 1:00 in the afternoon in Florida here, so it's 3:00 here, 4:00, whatever. And the dogs are on the bed, and I was sitting on the bed watching the game in the closing seconds. So he hit that shot, and we won. I haven't jumped up and down watching a basketball game in so long.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, we're off a little bit. So we are, this is being recorded on election day, but it's probably not going to be released for a couple weeks. So, we're still working it out, but that is exciting. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are they're probably even overlooking the fact that there's no one in the stadium or in the stands, or in the,
Yeah, well, it's funny to see how the sports are all doing it so far. Like, the NBA down in Florida in the bubble, they've had no positive COVID tests since June.
Yeah,
with the teams in there, and you can log on to something in Microsoft to become a virtual fan, and they have a virtual stand in the arena that they're playing in, and your face can be on TV watching the game live because you're watching the game through the Microsoft app. As it's being played out.
Ugh.
And then, so, as far as baseball goes, they have no bubble. They're traveling, and it's a shit show.
Yeah. I heard that some teams are doing worse than others.
Yeah, the Marlins last week or a few weeks ago had 14 players and coaches go down, so they had to have their games canceled for a week. Philadelphia had some games canceled. St. Louis is going through similar things. So baseball is sputtering along, even though the commissioner has said players have to do better because we're not stopping. But, by process of elimination, the Diamondbacks are 2 and whatever, but we might qualify for the playoffs because if no other team can play.
That's true. Yeah.
It might be us against the Dodgers the rest of the way.
Yeah, they didn't start off very fast.
No.
And that Madison Bumgarner, boy, that was a good purchase.
Well, it's early still. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But then you start watching hockey. They have their bubbles up in Toronto and Edmonton, and they actually have fans on the upper deck, like limited fans.
Oh, okay.
So it's cool though, just to have hockey, and they've got a fun way of doing it because they have like the top 4 seeds are in a round robin tournament to decide how the top 4 will settle out in each division, for each conference, and then the rest of the playoffs have basically started.
Okay.
So it's a best of 5 series, and they are rolling in. So it's exciting, man. It's Fox Sports Arizona a lot right now has the Coyotes on in the morning, the Suns in the afternoon, and then the Diamondbacks at night. So if you're an Arizona sports fan right now, you're making up for lost time quick.
Yes. Okay. Well, there we go. So yeah, I haven't been watching sports. As you know, COVID has kind of made it so that I've pushed myself to start reading again. And, I always make this claim that I'm going to start reading books and I'm going to start getting smarter and all that stuff. But this year, I've really made a real concerted effort to read more. Yeah. So I haven't been watching any sports, but I've been kind of checking scores to see how the Suns are doing and stuff, but I haven't been watching any sports, but I've been doing a lot of reading.
Yeah.
And the reason why I mentioned the reading is because, as you know, a few months ago, or maybe even a year ago, we did a podcast called What's on Your Tombstone?
Yeah.
And we talked about the 3 things that if we died today, what we would put, on
our tombstone.
Tombstone. Well, so last year when I must have did it around my birthday, because my birthday's coming up, and I had been thinking about, okay, what things did I accomplish in my 47th year that if I were to die on my birthday at 48, I would have put as accomplishments for 2000 and or for my 47th birthday. So by the time
Mhm.
this recording goes through, I'll already have passed my birthday, and I've been working on what I'm going to put on my tombstone. Well, one of the things I'm going to put on my tombstone, I've counted it up, Scott. This year I've read 38 books.
Wow.
Yeah.
So okay, that's a humble brag right there. But is that worth putting in your tombstone that you read 38 books on the year you turned 47?
The only thing that I'm putting on the tombstone is that I read the Bible.
Okay. Okay.
'Cause
So are you gonna spice it up though? That's my
I
question.
don't know. Maybe I need to. I don't know what.
Like you read the Bible daily, or you learned it like verse by verse?
No. I read it from cover to cover. I have not learned it verse by verse, but I did read it cover to cover, so I know the general gist of the story.
So you're basically what you're saying is you're gonna say you read the Bible, and then can you leave like a review below it, like a book review,
I could. I
like
could. I could.
like 1 out of 5 stars, however many out of 5 stars, and then something cheeky after that?
I don't know if I'd put that on my tombstone. It might be cooler to say I read a lot of books.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't want to put on my tombstone that, oh, by the way, the place I'm hopefully going to, I rated their book 1 out of 5 stars. That's probably not what I want to put on my tombstone.
Well, everybody's a critic,
Yeah.
even everybody up there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and if you're supposed to get up there for being honest, your honest opinion should matter for something.
So one of the things I'm putting on there is I painted a house, dude.
You did.
I painted a house. I've never done that before, but I
So
helped a friend paint a house.
basically what you're talking about right now, your tombstone for your 47th year. You've read the Bible, you've painted a house, and what's that one last thing you've done?
I ran down the strip of Las Vegas Strip when there was no cars on it.
There is that.
I was so I was so telling when I was up there in Vegas for my mom. I told myself I am going to do this. I ran down there, and it was an experience that I will never forget. And not to mention that it's an experience that I'll probably never get to do again.
Yes, until
So
the next pandemic.
so so my 47th year wasn't as great as it could have been. Like I didn't solve world hunger or but I did accomplish some things that I'm proud of. That's I figured I've done now. So now I've got to put together what I want to try to accomplish for 2000 or for my 48th year.
Yeah, that's it. So okay, so you have your 48 coming up. Happy birthday!
Thank you.
It's your birthday week by the time this releases.
Yes.
What are some goals, ambitions, things you'd like to see happen on your 48th trip around this planet, around the sun?
Oh man, yeah. I haven't really thought about it yet, but I definitely want to do something that's more service oriented. So this year, I want to try to find some volunteer groups. Something to do once we get past the COVID.
Yeah.
I want to do something like that. I definitely want to do something like a trip with my mom. I feel like I haven't done just a trip with her and me, or me, her, and Noreen. So I want to try to plan something like that. And then my goal this year is a book a week. So I'm going to try to read 52 books this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're turning it up, man.
I'm trying to kick it up a notch.
You are trying to elevate yourself to the next level.
Well, and what spurred this on was, I've been reading these books, but there was a book that was written by the governor of Maryland. And the governor of Maryland, his story, basically the story is his kind of ascension to the governor of Maryland. But Maryland is a strong state, and he is one of only governors in the last 100 years that got elected to a second term in the blue state. And so it inspired me to read it, because I thought, wow, now, no matter what your politics are, anytime that you can accomplish something, as a Republican that well in Maryland, there's got to be something to it. But it got me thinking that one of the big things that he pushes is crossing party lines and, working together to get things done for Maryland. Well, obviously that's way far away from where we are in most circles in the political world.
Yes.
And so it got me thinking, it's like, now, in your work, do you ever have the experience where you deal with someone that you just fundamentally do not agree with?
All the time.
I think all of us do, right? Everyone's had that experience. So how come we can go into our work environment and still get things done, when we have such differing opinions about almost everything?
Uh huh. I think the biggest thing, the biggest difference there is that we're being paid to do a job, and we're not working for a variety of constituents of interest groups. We are working. So when you walk into your office or I walk into my office, we have to work with people that we fundamentally disagree with. We're both working for the same company, so we have to find a way to coexist for the betterment of the company. Because if you like getting paid, you have to do that.
Oh, okay. So maybe the difference is that whether they do anything for the country or not, they're still getting paid.
Basically, yes.
So there's no incentive for them. It's not like a bonus structure where, you do good work, you get a bonus or a raise. You don't do work, you don't get paid. Their situation is whether I do bad job or good job, I get paid.
Pretty much.
And yeah, okay, that's a good one because I didn't think about that one. Um, I also think too that if I disagree with someone and it's causing a conflict or it causes a problem, I get fired.
Yeah,
Right? Like
there's
they'll just
that
say,
too.
"You're causing a problem. You either fix it or you're out of here." Whereas they don't have to do that, right? They don't have to
No, they just have to worry about
accomplish
whatever
that.
election cycle they're in is trying to get reelected for that, and that's by basically making sure they're taking care of the interest of those that are donating to their reelection campaign.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say, and this is gonna, I mean, you're probably gonna fall out of your chair, so brace yourself now. Um, just his story was compelling enough that if he decided to run for president in 2024, I might look at him as a candidate.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were saying in the book that he when he ran for reelection in 2018, his approval numbers in Maryland across all three depends independents, Democrats, Republicans was like in the high 70s. But because he was a Republican, he was getting dragged down by the national
Polls.
feelings about
Yeah.
Republicans. Like he was like his opponent was trying to link him in to being connected to the Republican Party as it
Mm-hmm.
stands. And he still won, and he won convincingly. It wasn't like a close. I mean, he got a vast majority of the votes, and it got me thinking. Well, if you can get 70% of the person of the other party to be in favor, approve of how you're doing, that's a good sign.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well.
That's a pretty good sign. Yeah. So I I enjoyed it, but I also got frustrated because I thought, you know what, that's the other thing. These politicians, they can't relate to what we put up with because our bosses wouldn't allow us to even act like that.
I agree. Well, let
They
me
and
ask you this.
we have sexual harassment policies, and you can't say certain things that they get the away with saying all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Let me
So
ask you this though. Do you believe in term limits for uh, our government?
I do believe in term limits for I do believe in term limits for the major roles like I do believe like the president, the governors. I do believe in term limits there. One thing I think is a little bit harder with the House of Representatives is that unfortunately you do need to have some experience in those positions. So if you had House of Representatives going out after, let's say, 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
how do you spread out the working knowledge of how to run government, how to pass bills?
Well, I would imagine that there's some kind of class or orientation toward that, or you have to rely on the people that are not. It's not going to be a total turnover every election cycle. It's going to be staggered,
Yeah,
you know. And I think because it's staggered, you have that ability to teach people and pay it forward just by people learning through experience.
maybe. Yeah, I
Yeah,
I I sometimes wonder how like if someone is a bad person, how they keep getting reelected in an area again and again and again to have that kind of tenure. Um,
I think a lot of it comes down to is, especially the world right now, it's so polarizing. Um, either you have an R next to your name or a D next to your name, and depending on the way you're registered, that's who you vote for.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys, and I'll use Mitch McConnell as an example because I was reading today that he has a 19-point lead over his opponent in the Kentucky Senate election
Yeah. Okay. I can
race,
imagine.
and he's one of the biggest culprits currently in holding everything up and playing with constitutional law and trying to manipulate the system because that's what he got his background is constitutional law. And right, wrong, or indifferent, he's from a heavily Republican state. So unless you're like Doug Jones in Alabama, from Alabama winning by a fluke, he's not being unseated anytime soon.
Oh, right. Yeah. And that guy's 77. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's old. Now, I do feel like maybe we should be having some limitations on the age. That I do feel that might be something that we might want to look at. But I could definitely see there being something to be said about the term limits. I think what I would want to be more focused on, though, is the campaign finance reform.
Yeah.
How they generate money. Like, I don't know if you guys see the commercials where you live, but it's pretty scary to think that some of these commercials that we're seeing aren't even by people who, like, they're not even by the candidate. You know what I mean? They're like just by a group that's putting the stuff out, that it's not endorsed by anyone. It's just someone throwing money into your campaign.
Yeah, I don't watch commercials. If I watch anything, it's DVR'd and I fast forward through it.
Okay.
But I do see some ads online and whatnot, and you're right. It is completely frustrating. It is completely, I think, unnecessary. And when you're trying, it's to me, it's like the Karl Rove Swift boat tactics for attacking.
Yes.
You try to just hit the lowest point, and you're not lying about the information, but you're not giving full disclosure on the information.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's a skewing of the facts. Like, they take a snippet of an interview, for example, but
exactly.
they're not putting in the full context.
Exactly. And I think you're seeing more and more of that in today's world. And that's part of the problem, really.
Well, and it's funny because I was telling my mom. My mom is like an avid Democrat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking, trying to tell the story. Oh, the Republicans, they're just so bad at trying to manipulate the election and all this stuff. And I said, Mom, did you hear the story about in Kansas? There's a Senate seat that's up for election, and they're having the Republican Party in Kansas is having a real issue because there is a Democratic super PAC that's been putting money into the Republican primary to try to get an unfavorable Republican to win the primary so that the Democrat has a better chance of beating the not so strong Republican candidate. So
No, yeah.
it's gotten to the point where the other party is saying, oh, well, if we get the wrong person to win on the primary side, then maybe we can beat them
On
on
the
the
general side,
on the
yeah.
general side, and it's like, oh my gosh, so I could see changing that kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
I think it's pretty scary that between Biden and Trump, that their war chests are over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Well,
scary to me that they can generate that much money, um, and for 80% of us, we already know who we're voting for.
oh, yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
know,
So it's like, what do you need? What do you need all that money for to generate an election when 80% of us already know?
well, you're also implying that the presidential election on that level, actually, your vote actually counts. I think it goes back to the Electoral College and the fact that the Supreme Court just had to rule that they should cast their votes in those states for whoever wins the popular vote.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
they need to, they should. Now, does that mean they will? Probably not.
Yeah. I,
But
I don't know. I think every state probably has a group that handles how the electoral members work. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's not run by a federal group. That's like each state controls their electoral college.
yeah, and I don't think anyone really has any clear idea of how the Electoral College actually works. So, I mean, there's theories, but I'm a personal believer that if you're going to ask us to vote for something like the most important job in the free world, your vote should actually count. So, if you win a popular election, you should win the seat. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it does seem like my mom teaches a class on this in Vegas, and she said that originally the Electoral College basically was an independent group of any of the voting, like they weren't even part of the voting, so people would vote, right? And
Uh-huh.
then this group would get together and they would make the decision for all of us because in their minds they're more educated than the rest of the citizenry was, and so they weren't even they 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 weren't even part of like, oh hey, this person won 3/4 of the votes, yeah, but we're going to go in a different direction, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So they have changed a little bit. It's gotten better, but I will say that if you guys get a chance to read the book, it's called Still Standing, and the governor's name is Larry Hogan, Hogan, and
Larry Hogan.
Larry Hogan, and I was telling my mom that it gave me faith that maybe in the future, the next generation of politicians will be more not red or blue, but like this purple. You know what I mean? Like where
Well,
you
well,
kind of
the
realize
way
that
it used to be.
I lean Republican, but I realize that I have to work with the Democrats, and so I'm going to work with them to try to accomplish,
That's a
most of my things and some of their things.
that's a classic politician you're not going to see anymore because of all the interest groups that are
I don't know, because you know what?
election.
Here's the thing: is that we say that, but the majority of us are tired of it, right? The majority of us don't want to see this anymore. We just want people to
Yeah.
like
Okay.
we were talking about at the very beginning. We work with people that we don't like, but we still have to work with them, and we have to get things done.
That's
And we find a way to get things done, despite the fact.
Yeah, but that's a very sweet way to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, hoping that someone like, we'll use Kristen Cinema for example, in the great state of Arizona, on year 2 of her 6-year term in her first run as a Senate senator for us. She's always posting about working and crossing party lines and this, that, and the other thing. Fine, you know what? I get it. It's her first term. She's new, and I really believe the constituents that want her lobbying for them in Washington haven't gotten to her yet, or they haven't really started pushing their agenda until she has to get reelected here in a couple of years.
Well, that might be true.
I
Yeah, that might be true.
I'm thinking everybody starts off as a politician thinking they're going to change the world, and eventually the money they get paid to go push certain objectives
Well,
change
and
that.
let's be honest. I mean, the the Republican Party that supports Trump, unfortunately, they're an older population. That
Yeah.
population in 20 years, the vast majority of them are going to be gone, right? So then what? And then the younger generation of more, Democrats are leaning more left, right? They want more socialized government. So it'll change. Things will definitely change just because our
It's definitely
population will be
shifting, but
moving in different directions.
it's getting more radicalized on both sides though too. It's getting to a dangerous level of radicalization that I don't think people realize it can lead to violence. I would say. I think how many Republicans do you see now that keep saying, well, I'm going to go out and buy more bullets so you don't take my guns, because every elected Democrat's going to come out and take the guns, or then you look at the Democrats and say, they say every Republican is basically a
Yeah,
racist
right. White
now, and
supremacist, and yeah.
then there's just so much exaggeration and rhetoric being thrown around that it's hard to really see what's what and what's not
Well,
anymore.
Scott, if when you become president, can I be like secretary of something?
But you're gonna be my
Oh,
running
I'm gonna
mate.
be your vice. The liquid
Yeah,
courage
dude.
ticket.
One nation under liquid
Oh my
carnage.
gosh,
Yeah.
we were gonna create the liquid courage marriage enterprise or experience.
Experience.
Yeah, the lick me. So now we could have
Well,
the lick me party.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We're starting Lick Me. It's in the works, and we're just
Yeah,
entrepreneurs now.
we're just reaching for the stars.
Exactly, and nothing is off limits for us. So we're gonna go from Lick Me, the Liquid Carnage marriage experience, to the Lick Me ticket, which is the Liquid Carnage election experience, which we'll have to figure out the details on that when we get closer to actually wanting to become elected officials.
Yeah, I think I want to make sure that it's on one of my tombstones at some point. Okay.
An elected official,
just,
huh?
vice president under the lick me ticket.
There you go. I'm going to love having that put on one of your tombstones at some point.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I talk about books a lot more, and I really need to stop because Noreen just looks at me like you're a big nerd.
Yeah, that's your fiance is like. It's like you can go watch sports.
Yeah,
go
please
do something.
Go
like,
kill something in the woods or something. Do something.
Get your man card back for a few minutes.
Exactly.
Just do something.
Yeah,
But hey, man, it never hurts to be a more well-rounded, well-educated person because a lot of people don't read anymore, and it shows.
Yeah.
And you can tell by the way they post on social media, by the text they send. Just because you can shorthand doesn't mean you should. And if you don't know the difference between there, and there, or two, and two, I'm not sure we can be friends. And it's getting harder and harder and harder to really talk and socialize with those people.
Well, and I've learned over the books that I've read, the 38 books I read this year, I picked up a little something in each one of them that was like, ooh, that nugget is really something I want to carry forward, So it was good. And this book that I read, the one I just read, it was very interesting. And Scott, you'll be proud of me. I've decided to jump into your realm, and my next book is Secret Societies.
Ooh, the skull and bones of Harvard.
Yeah, they have like 20 of them in this book, and they give like a little description, historical, and and they range from the benign societies to the ones that are part of the conspiracy theories. So hopefully, maybe we can do a podcast on that. I'll send you my notes, and we can do a podcast on that.
Absolutely, I would love to discuss that. I am always intrigued about that world. And one of my favorite movies in high school was actually The Skulls, starring one Paul Walker, Hayden T. Christensen, who played Hayden Fox on Coach?
I don't know.
Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah.
Craig T. Nelson, not Hayden Christensen. That was Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I was gonna say he was a little young for that one, but
yeah, Paul Walker, Craig T. Nelson, and one Joshua Jackson from Dawson Creek days. So it's a fun little movie about the secret societies of the Ivy League.
So
something
I'll
worth
read
checking
the book,
out.
And then we can watch the movie, and then we'll do a podcast on the secret societies.
That sounds like a great idea.
And you motivated me, buddy. You inspired me. I am
here to inspire you all the time. It doesn't work, but I try.
You did great, man.
So that being said, as we wrap up the show, tell us, what is something you would put on your tombstone for this year of your birth, this trip around the sun for you? Not your final tombstone, just something significant you've done this year. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Liquid Carnage. If there's something you'd like to see Tom put on his tombstone up in the great state of Colorado on his current trip around the sun, hit him up on Instagram and Twitter, all at Liquid_EP.
That's perfect, buddy.
I'm just here to help the Lick Me Ticket.
Ticket's it's well on its way now. Now we got to start fundraising before they change the campaign finance laws.
That's true. Maybe we should start like a kissing booth or something. No, we can't.
Pie eating contest. Yes. Yeah.
Pie eating contest. We'll win. We'll win based on eating food on winning food contests.
That's awesome.
yeah. Or it'd be very bad for us. More like diabetes.
Oh heck yeah! Exactly.
Well, with that being said, Jason.
All right. Well, hey everyone. Hope you have a great rest of the week. Have a nice weekend. That was Scott. I am Jason, and as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage.